Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly succeed while others hustle endlessly yet struggle to get ahead? The difference isn't luck or hustle, it's a fundamental shift in how they think. Most entrepreneurs instinctively move forward, mistaking movement for progress, trapped on an endless treadmill of busyness without direction. But the most successful leaders, from Amazon to NASA, have cracked a simple but powerful secret. They think backward. Think Backward, the fastest way to get ahead of 99% of people, introduces a revolutionary yet practical framework for success, grounded in proven strategies like backcasting, inversion thinking, and via negativa. Instead of vague goals and random actions, you'll learn how starting with a crystal clear end goal allows you to systematically reverse engineer your path to success. You'll discover why clarity, not hustle, accelerates execution, and how anticipating failure makes you unstoppable. Drawing on compelling examples, from Jeff Bezos's working backwards methodology to the strategic insights of Abraham Wald and the disciplined rehearsal of Michael Phelps, this book reveals an 8-step system that transforms ambition into tangible outcomes. You'll learn not only how to create a clear vision of success, but how to build an identity and systems that make success inevitable. If you're ready to get off the operator's treadmill, stop reacting, and finally leapfrog ahead of your competition, even if you've tried everything else, this book is your blueprint. Welcome to Thinking Backward. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Start Backward. Your competitor just launched. Again, while you were buried in spreadsheets, fixing yesterday's fires, and answering quick questions that stole your morning, they shipped something that makes your offering look tired. You refresh their website, scroll their social proof, and feel that familiar knot in your stomach. How do they move so fast while you're drowning in your own success? Here's the brutal truth. They're not smarter, luckier, or better funded. They think backward. While you sprint forward into fog, they start at the finish line and build a clear path back to today. This isn't about working harder. It's about working in reverse. The operator's treadmill. You wake up to 17 notifications, 3 client fires, 2 team questions, 1 urgent vendor issue. By 10 a.m., your strategic work, the stuff that actually moves the needle, gets pushed to later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes never. This is the operator's treadmill. You're busy, reactive, and essential to every decision. Your calendar owns you. Urgent work crowds out important work. Weeks pass without strategic progress. You're running faster, but getting nowhere. The math is merciless. Effort rises while margin and morale fall. You hired people to create leverage, but they create more questions. You built systems to save time, but they need constant maintenance. You're not scaling, you're multiplying complexity. Most founders mistake motion for progress. They confuse being busy with being effective. They sprint forward because forward feels like progress. But direction without destination is just expensive wandering. The fog of vague goals. Grow the business, scale revenue, build the team. These aren't goals, they're wishes wrapped in business jargon. Without end-state metrics, you optimize random things. Everything looks useful when nothing is defined. Vague goals create vague results. When you don't know what done looks like, you never reach it. You chase every opportunity because you can't tell which ones matter. Opportunity cost explodes. Your attention fragments. Your team loses focus. The most dangerous phrase in business is, "Let's see what happens." Winners don't see what happens. They decide what happens, then reverse engineer the path. They know exactly what success looks like, sounds like, and feels like before they take the first step. The copycat trap. You study the winners. You reverse engineer their tactics. You copy their funnels, hire their consultants, and implement their frameworks. Then you wonder why your results don't match theirs. This is survivorship bias in action. You see the visible winners, but ignore the invisible failures. For every success story you study, hundreds of others tried the same tactics and failed. You're copying tactics without context, strategies without systems, moves without understanding the game. Forward sprinting multiplies mistakes. When you don't know where you're going, every step could be wrong. When you don't understand the principles behind the tactics, you can't adapt when conditions change. You become a permanent student of other people's playbooks instead of writing your own. The backward advantage. Backward thinking flips the script. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" you ask, "What must be true at the end?" Instead of optimizing for activity, you optimize for outcome. Instead of reacting to what happens, you engineer what happens. This isn't just goal setting with extra steps. This is a complete mental model shift. You start with the press release and work backward to the product. You begin with the testimonial and reverse engineer the experience. You define the exit and map the entrance. Abraham Wald proved this during World War II. When the military wanted to add armor to planes, they studied returning aircraft and reinforced where they found bullet holes. Wald inverted the problem. Reinforce where the bullets aren't, because those planes didn't make it back. By thinking backward from the outcome, planes that survive, he saved thousands of lives. Jeff Bezos institutionalized this at Amazon with working backwards. Every new product starts with a press release written as if the product already succeeded. This forces end-state clarity before a single line of code gets written. The result? Products like Kindle and AWS that didn't just succeed, they created entire categories. Michael Phelps used rehearsed success and failure. He didn't just visualize winning, he visualized everything going wrong and still winning. When his goggles filled with water during the 2008 Olympics, he stayed calm and won gold because he'd mentally rehearsed that exact scenario hundreds of times. The System Revealed. This book gives you 8 interlocking tools that transform ambition into outcome. End Clarity defines your finish line with terminal metrics, proof assets, and anti-goals. Backward Map converts that vision into quarterly milestones, then monthly capabilities, then weekly dominoes. Fail First protects your plan with premortems and kill criteria before you invest time and money. Base Reality anchors your dreams to data and second-order effects. Time Design builds a backward calendar that protects deep work and strategic thinking. Lean Systems reverse engineers your wins into repeatable processes. Identity Flip aligns who you are with where you're going, making execution feel automatic. Go Now ties it all together into a weekly rhythm that compounds. Each tool builds on the last. Outcome prevents waste. Risk protects the path. Reality calibrates the timeline. Time converts plans to motion. Systems lock in consistency. Identity makes behavior automatic. Rhythm makes it compound. Winners versus losers. Winners define the end state first. Losers start moving and hope for the best. Winners subtract ruthlessly. Losers add complexity and call it progress. Winners systemize success. Losers rely on heroic effort. Winners commit to the process. Losers quit when it gets hard. The difference isn't talent, luck, or resources. It's thinking. Winners think backward from the outcome. Losers think forward from the effort. Winners engineer results. Losers hope for them. You have a choice. You can keep sprinting forward into fog, reacting to whatever happens, optimizing for busy instead of effective. You can stay on the operator's treadmill, essential to every decision, trapped by your own success. Or you can start backward. You can define your finish line, map the path in reverse, and build systems that compound. You can move from operator to strategist, from reactive to proactive, from busy to effective. The tools are in your hands. The choice is yours. But choose quickly. While you're reading this, your backward-thinking competitor just shipped again. In the next chapter, we'll craft your done picture, the one-page document that will filter every decision and accelerate every outcome. But first, you need to understand something most entrepreneurs never grasp: the power hidden in end clarity. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. End clarity. You're staring at a blank whiteboard. Your team is gathered around the conference table, laptops open, energy high. Someone asks the question that should be simple: What does success look like for us this year? The silence stretches, eyes dart around the room. Finally, someone ventures, well, we want to grow revenue. Another chimes in, and build a great culture. A third adds, maybe expand into new markets. Within minutes, you have 17 different definitions of success and zero clarity on what you're actually building. This scene plays out in conference rooms across the world every day. Teams mistake brainstorming for planning, confuse activity lists for outcomes, and wonder why their execution feels scattered. Here's what most leaders miss. Clarity isn't something that emerges from action. Clarity is what makes action possible. The fog machine. Most businesses run on what I call fog goals, aspirations so vague they could mean anything to anyone. Grow the business, improve customer satisfaction, scale the team. These aren't destinations, they're directions, and directions without destinations create expensive wandering. Ambiguity destroys focus faster than any external threat. When your end state is fuzzy, every opportunity looks attractive. Every new idea seems worth pursuing. Every shiny object catches your eye. You end up saying yes to everything because you can't tell what matters. Your team feels this confusion daily. They make decisions in isolation because they don't know what the bigger picture looks like. They optimize for different metrics because no one defined which metrics matter most. They work hard on things that don't move the needle because the needle was never clearly marked. The math is brutal. Ambiguous goals create exponential waste. Every unclear decision spawns 3 more unclear decisions. Every vague priority competes with every other vague priority. Every team member interprets success differently, pulling the organization in 17 directions at once. The precision advantage. Specific ends create automatic filters for decisions. When you know exactly what done looks like, every opportunity gets measured against that standard. Does this move us closer to the end state or further away? Does this align with our constraints or violate them? Does this support our non-negotiables or compromise them? Steve Jobs understood this obsessively. He didn't start with features or technology. He started with the user's finished feeling. How should someone feel after using this product? What should their experience be like? What emotion should linger after they put it down? Only after defining that end experience did Apple work backward to create the product that would deliver it. This approach seems backward to most entrepreneurs. They want to start building, start shipping, start moving. But Jobs knew something they didn't. The clearer your destination, the faster you reach it. Precision compresses timelines because it eliminates false starts, wrong turns, and wasted motion. Teams rally around crisp proofs, not vague slogans. When everyone can see the same finish line, coordination becomes automatic. When success is defined in observable terms, progress becomes measurable. When constraints are explicit, creativity flows within boundaries instead of drowning in infinite possibilities. The Amazon secret. Jeff Bezos institutionalized this thinking at Amazon with something called the working backwards process. Before building any new product, teams must write a press release announcing its success. Not a product spec or a feature list, a press release describing how customers will benefit and why they'll love it. This forces what Bezos calls customer obsession from the end state. You can't write a compelling press release about a mediocre product. You can't describe customer delight without understanding what delight looks like. You can't announce success without defining what success means. The press release becomes the North Star for every decision. Does this feature support the story in the press release? Does this design choice deliver on the promise we made? Does this timeline align with the impact we described? If not, it gets cut or changed. This backward approach produced some of Amazon's biggest wins. Kindle started with a press release about revolutionizing reading. AWS began with a press release about democratizing computing power. Prime originated from a press release about making shopping effortless. Each product succeeded because the end was clear before the beginning started. The clarity myths. 3 dangerous myths keep leaders trapped in fog. The first myth claims that clarity emerges only after action. We'll figure it out as we go, they say. Clarity comes from doing. This is half true and fully dangerous. Action without aim is just expensive motion. You might learn something, but you'll waste everything else. The second myth insists you should keep every option open. Don't limit ourselves, they argue. Stay flexible. But options without criteria cause paralysis. When everything is possible, nothing is probable. When every path looks equally valid, you end up taking none of them. The third myth warns that specific targets kill creativity. Constraints box us in, they worry. We need room to innovate. This gets it exactly backward. Constraints spark better ideas, not fewer ideas. When you know exactly what problem you're solving, your brain gets creative about solutions. When you know exactly what you won't do, you get innovative about what you will do. The done picture framework. The solution is what I call a done picture, a one-page document that defines your finish line in observable terms. This isn't a vision statement or a mission paragraph. This is a specific, measurable description of what success looks like when you achieve it. Your done picture contains 5 essential elements. Terminal metrics define success in numbers: profit percentage, monthly recurring revenue, owner hours per week, team size, customer retention rate. These aren't aspirations, they're measurements. You either hit them or you don't. Proof assets describe the evidence you'll have when you succeed. Specific testimonials, case study metrics, retention numbers, referral rates. These prove your terminal metrics aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent real value delivered to real people. Non-negotiables establish your values and boundaries. How you'll treat customers, what kind of culture you'll build, which principles you won't compromise. These keep you aligned with your identity as you scale. Constraints acknowledge your limits: market size, pricing bands, capacity restrictions, capital requirements. These aren't limitations. They're design parameters that focus your efforts and prevent overreach. Anti-goals explicitly state what you refuse to build. No 80-hour weeks, no low-margin custom work, no toxic customers, no venture capital if you value independence. These protect you from attractive distractions that dilute your end state. The second order check. Before you finalize your done picture, run a second order check. Ask yourself, if we hit this end state perfectly, what new problems will we create? Success often spawns unexpected challenges. Higher revenue might mean more complex operations. Bigger teams might require different management skills. Market leadership might attract stronger competitors. This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. By anticipating second-order effects, you can design solutions before problems appear. You can build capabilities before you need them. You can avoid winning your way into new crises. Amazon's second-order thinking led them to build AWS. They realized that scaling their retail business would require massive computing infrastructure. Instead of treating this as a cost center, they turned it into a product. They solved their own second-order problem and created a $100 billion business in the process. The subtraction strategy. Once your done picture is complete, practice option value by subtraction. Identify one attractive but dilutive path and explicitly remove it from consideration. This might be a tempting market expansion, an interesting product feature, or a lucrative but off-strategy partnership. Subtraction feels counterintuitive. Your instinct is to add options, not remove them. But every path you don't take increases your power to succeed on the path you do take. Every distraction you eliminate concentrates your focus. Every no makes your yes more powerful. The best entrepreneurs are ruthless subtractors. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great ones. They kill attractive features to make essential features shine. They abandon profitable sidelines to dominate their main line. Making it stick. Write your done picture in plain speech, not business jargon. Use numbers instead of adjectives. Include a date because reality loves deadlines. Make it specific enough that a stranger could read it and know exactly what you're building. Post it where you make decisions daily. Read it every Monday morning. Use it to veto one misaligned task each week. Share it with your team and watch alignment improve. Reference it in meetings when priorities compete. Your done picture becomes your decision filter. Every opportunity gets measured against it. Every request gets evaluated through it. Every investment gets justified by it. When someone asks why you said no to something attractive, you point to your done picture and explain how it didn't align. The transformation happens quickly. Decisions accelerate because criteria are clear. Stress drops because priorities are obvious. Momentum builds because effort concentrates. Your team stops asking what to work on and starts asking how to work on it better. But clarity alone isn't enough. Once you know where you're going, you need to map the path in reverse. You need to understand the hidden power of what comes next. The backward map. Chapter 3, Backward Map. You have your done picture. It's crisp, specific, and posted where you can see it daily. Your team knows exactly what success looks like. But now you're staring at the gap between here and there, and it feels like standing at the base of Everest with a photo of the summit. The distance seems impossible. The path looks unclear. Your brain starts generating questions faster than answers. Where do we start? What comes first? How do we know if we're making progress? What if we're climbing the wrong mountain entirely? This is where most ambitious plans die, not from lack of vision, but from lack of translation. You know where you want to go, but you don't know how to get there. You have a destination without a map. And maps, it turns out, work best when you draw them backward. The procrastination trap. Vision without dates is just expensive daydreaming. You can have the clearest done picture in the world, but if it lives in some vague future called someday, it might as well be fiction. Your brain treats distant goals like distant objects, interesting to look at, but not urgent enough to act on. This is why New Year's resolutions fail by February. The goal is clear enough: lose weight, save money, learn Spanish. The timeline is even specified, by the end of the year. But 12 months feels like forever, so the urgency never kicks in. January becomes, I'll start next week. February becomes, I'll start next month. December becomes, I'll start next year. The same pattern destroys business goals. We want to hit 10 million in revenue, sounds ambitious and inspiring, but without intermediate milestones, it remains a wish. Without quarterly proofs, it stays abstract. Without monthly capabilities, it feels impossible. Without weekly triggers, it never starts. Your team feels this distance acutely. They know the big goal, but they don't know what to do Monday morning. They understand the vision, but they can't see the next step. They want to contribute, but they don't know how their daily work connects to the ultimate outcome. So they default to whatever feels urgent, hoping it somehow moves the needle. The NASA solution. When President Kennedy announced the moon landing goal in 1961, NASA faced the ultimate backward mapping challenge. The destination was clear: return him safely to Earth. The timeline was fixed, before the decade ends. But the path was completely unknown. No one had ever done this before. The technology didn't exist, the systems weren't built, the capabilities weren't developed, the knowledge wasn't acquired. NASA had to invent everything from scratch, and they had less than 9 years to do it. So they worked backward. They started with the final moment, astronauts splashing down safely in the ocean, and reasoned in reverse. What must happen immediately before that? The command module must separate from the service module and survive re-entry. What must happen before that? The lunar module must successfully dock with the command module in lunar orbit. What must happen before that? The lunar module must successfully launch from the moon's surface. Each step backward revealed the previous requirement. Each requirement exposed the necessary capability. Each capability pointed to the enabling system. Each system identified the first domino that needed to fall. By the time they reached the present moment, the path was clear. This wasn't just project management, it was reverse engineering success. NASA didn't guess their way to the moon. They mapped their way there, one backward step at a time, and they landed with 5 months to spare. The milestone mirage. Most teams create milestones that feel like progress but measure activity instead of outcome. Launch the website. Hire 3 salespeople. Complete the marketing campaign. These sound like achievements, but they're really just tasks with deadlines. The problem with activity milestones is that you can complete them perfectly and still fail completely. You can launch the website on time and get zero traffic. You can hire 3 salespeople and generate no revenue. You can complete the marketing campaign and acquire no customers. You've hit your milestones, but you haven't moved toward your goal. This creates a dangerous illusion of progress. Your team feels productive because they're checking boxes. Your reports look good because tasks are getting done. Your timeline appears on track because deadlines are being met. But you're climbing the wrong ladder, and you won't realize it until you reach the top and discover you're on the wrong building. Proof milestones work differently. Instead of measuring what you did, they measure what you achieved. Instead of tracking activity, they track outcome. Instead of asking, did we launch, they ask, did we acquire? Instead of did we hire, they ask, did we sell? The 4-column framework. The secret to backward mapping lies in a simple 4-column framework that transforms your done picture into a climbable staircase. The columns work from right to left: end proof, penultimate capability, enabling system, first domino. Start with your end proof, the specific, measurable outcome that proves you've succeeded. This comes directly from your done picture. Maybe it's 500 paying customers at $200 monthly recurring revenue. Maybe it's 40% profit margin with 25 hours per week owner time. Whatever it is, it must be observable and binary. You either have it or you don't. Next, identify the penultimate capability, the skill, system, or asset you must possess immediately before achieving the end proof. If your end proof is 500 paying customers, your penultimate capability might be predictable customer acquisition system generating 50 qualified leads per week. If your end proof is 40% profit margin, your penultimate capability might be standardized delivery process reducing fulfillment costs by 60%. Then, define the enabling system, the infrastructure, process, or foundation that makes the penultimate capability possible. For predictable customer acquisition, the enabling system might be content marketing engine producing 3 high-value pieces per week. For standardized delivery, it might be documented SOPs with quality checkpoints and error tracking. Finally, identify the first domino, the specific action you can take today that starts the chain reaction toward the enabling system. For the content marketing engine, the first domino might be interview 3 customers about their biggest challenges. For the documented SOPs, it might be record yourself completing 1 delivery process from start to finish. The rehearsed success loop. Once you have your 4 columns mapped, add a weekly practice that keeps the path clear, the rehearsed success back loop. Every week, mentally simulate achieving your end proof. See it, feel it, experience it as if it's already happened. Then step backward 1 move and ask, what must be true immediately before this moment? This isn't positive thinking or visualization fluff. This is mental time travel that reveals hidden requirements and missing links. When you imagine having 500 paying customers, you might realize you need a customer success system to prevent churn. When you picture working 25 hours per week, you might discover you need a general manager to handle operations. The back loop catches these insights before they become expensive surprises. It exposes dependencies you didn't see. It reveals capabilities you forgot to build. It identifies systems you assumed would exist. Most importantly, it keeps your weekly actions connected to your ultimate outcome. Michael Phelps used this technique to dominate swimming for over a decade. Before every race, he would mentally swim the perfect race backward, touching the wall first, then the final stroke, then the turn, then the middle laps, then the start. By the time he dove in, he had already swum the race dozens of times in his mind. His body just followed the map his brain had drawn. The 3-proof rule. Resist the temptation to create more milestones. 3 quarterly proofs are enough. More than 3 creates thrash, confusion, and competing priorities. Your team can focus on 3 things at once, but not 13 things. Your attention can track 3 metrics simultaneously, but not 30 metrics. Each proof should tie to a single lead metric that you can influence weekly. If your quarterly proof is 50 new customers acquired, your lead metric might be 20 sales conversations per week. If your quarterly proof is 30% cost reduction achieved, your lead metric might be 5 process improvements implemented per week. The lead metric becomes your weekly heartbeat. It's the rhythm that drives everything else. It's the drumbeat that keeps your team marching toward the quarterly proof. It's the early warning system that tells you if you're on track or falling behind. Name your proofs carefully. Use evidence language, not activity language. Say $50,000 monthly recurring revenue signed instead of launch sales campaign. Say 15% customer churn rate achieved instead of implement retention program. The proof should be something you can screenshot, celebrate, and bank. The ownership imperative. Every link in your backward map needs a single owner, not a team, not a committee, not a we'll figure it out placeholder. One person whose name goes next to each milestone, each capability, each system, each domino. One person who wakes up thinking about that outcome and goes to sleep planning the next move. Shared ownership is no ownership. When everyone is responsible, no one is responsible. When multiple people own the same outcome, each assumes the others are handling it. When committees manage milestones, progress gets lost in coordination overhead and consensus building. This doesn't mean the owner works alone. They can delegate, collaborate, and coordinate, but they own the result. They answer for the outcome. They celebrate the win or explain the miss. They make the calls, break the ties, and push through the obstacles. The weekly rhythm. Your backward map only works if you work it. Schedule a weekly review where you check actual progress against planned progress. Look at your lead metrics. Assess your quarterly proofs. Adjust your timeline if reality disagrees with your plan. This isn't about perfection, it's about calibration. Plans are hypotheses about the future. Reality is the experiment that tests those hypotheses. When reality disagrees with your plan, update the plan. When your timeline proves optimistic, extend the timeline. When your assumptions prove wrong, change the assumptions. The weekly rhythm catches slippage early when it's cheap to fix. It spots problems while they're still small. It identifies bottlenecks before they become crises. It keeps your team aligned on what matters most this week, this month, this quarter. But even the best backward map can fail if you don't protect it from the hidden forces that destroy great plans. The next chapter reveals how to armor your strategy against the invisible enemies that most entrepreneurs never see coming. Fail first. Fail first. Your plan is perfect. The done picture is crystal clear. The backward map shows exactly how to get there. Your team is aligned, energized, and ready to execute. You've thought of everything. Except you haven't. Right now, hidden in the shadows of your brilliant strategy, lurk a dozen ways to fail that you can't see. Market shifts you didn't anticipate, customer behaviors you misunderstood, team capabilities you overestimated, competitor moves you never considered, cash flow gaps you didn't model, technology failures you assumed wouldn't happen. These aren't pessimistic possibilities, they're statistical certainties. Every plan contains the seeds of its own destruction. Every strategy has failure modes built into its DNA. The question isn't whether something will go wrong. The question is whether you'll see it coming. Most entrepreneurs treat failure like weather, something that happens to them beyond their control, impossible to predict. But the smartest leaders know something different. Failure is engineerable. You can design it out before it designs you out. The optimism trap. We're wired to believe our own stories. When we craft a plan, our brain falls in love with the narrative. We see the path to success so clearly that we become blind to the paths to failure. We weight our chances of winning too highly and our chances of losing too lightly. This isn't stupidity, it's biology. Optimism bias helped our ancestors take the risks necessary for survival. If early humans accurately calculated the odds of hunting a mammoth, they would have starved to death. A little delusion was adaptive. A lot of delusion was deadly. In business, optimism bias creates expensive blind spots. You underestimate how long things will take. You overestimate how much customers will pay. You assume your team will execute flawlessly. You believe your competitors will stay static. You expect technology to work perfectly. You plan for the best case and hope for the best. The math is brutal. Ignored risks become expensive lessons. Every failure mode you don't anticipate costs 10 times more to fix after it happens than before. Every risk you don't prepare for becomes a crisis that steals weeks of progress. Every assumption you don't test becomes a landmine waiting to explode. The SpaceX method. Elon Musk built SpaceX around a counterintuitive principle. Fail fast, fail cheap, fail forward. Instead of trying to build the perfect rocket, SpaceX builds rockets designed to reveal their own weaknesses. Instead of avoiding failure, they engineer it into their process. Every SpaceX test is designed to find the breaking point. They push engines until they explode. They stress structures until they crack. They simulate failures until they understand exactly how things break. Then they fix the breaking points and test again. This approach seems wasteful until you understand the alternative. Traditional aerospace companies spend years building rockets designed never to fail. When they do fail, and they always do, the cost is catastrophic. Billions of dollars, years of delays, sometimes human lives. SpaceX failures cost thousands, not billions. They happen in controlled environments, not critical missions. They reveal problems early when fixes are cheap. They compound learning instead of compounding risk. By failing first, SpaceX succeeds faster. The same principle applies to your business. You can wait for failure to find you, or you can hunt it down first. You can let reality teach you expensive lessons, or you can teach yourself cheap ones. You can react to problems after they explode, or you can defuse them before they detonate. The Apollo 13 miracle. On April 13, 1970, an oxygen tank exploded aboard Apollo 13, crippling the spacecraft 200,000 miles from Earth. The crew had enough power for maybe 2 days. Earth was 4 days away. The situation looked impossible. But NASA had spent years preparing for the impossible. They had run thousands of simulations. They had practiced every conceivable failure mode. They had built redundant systems and backup procedures. They had trained crews to improvise under pressure. When the explosion happened, NASA didn't panic. They executed. They had already imagined this scenario and dozens like it. They had already designed workarounds for power failures, navigation problems, and life support issues. They had already trained teams to solve problems with limited resources. The miracle of Apollo 13 wasn't luck, it was preparation. NASA had failed first in simulation so they could succeed when it mattered. They had imagined disaster so thoroughly that when disaster struck, they knew exactly what to do. Your business faces the same choice. You can prepare for failure in advance when it's cheap and safe. Or you can deal with failure in real time when it's expensive and dangerous. You can run premortems in conference rooms, or you can run postmortems in bankruptcy court. The inversion advantage. The most powerful question in strategic planning isn't how do we succeed, it's how do we fail. This simple flip reveals blind spots that forward thinking misses. It exposes assumptions that success stories hide. It illuminates risks that optimism obscures. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner, built his fortune on inversion. Instead of asking how to pick winning stocks, he asked how to avoid losing stocks. Instead of studying successful companies, he studied failed ones. Instead of focusing on what could go right, he obsessed over what could go wrong. This approach seems negative until you understand the math. There are infinite ways to fail and only a few ways to succeed. By eliminating failure modes, you dramatically increase your odds of hitting one of the success modes. By removing what doesn't work, you concentrate your efforts on what does work. Inversion works because it forces you to think like your enemies. Market forces that want to crush you. Competitors who want to steal your customers. Technologies that want to make you obsolete. Regulations that want to shut you down. Cash flow gaps that want to bankrupt you. When you think like your enemies, you see their attack vectors. When you understand their strategies, you can build defenses. When you anticipate their moves, you can counter them. When you prepare for their assaults, you can survive them. The premortem process. The most practical tool for failing first is the premortem, a meeting where you imagine your plan has already failed and work backward to understand why. Unlike a postmortem, which happens after failure, a premortem happens before you begin. It's time travel for risk management. Start by setting the scene. It's 12 months from now. Our plan has failed completely. We're sitting in this same room, trying to figure out what went wrong. Then ask the killer question: what happened? Your team will generate a dozen failure scenarios you never considered. The key hire quit after 3 months. The main competitor launched a copycat product. The technology platform crashed during peak season. The regulatory environment changed. The economic downturn killed demand. The partnership deal fell through. For each failure scenario, design 3 responses: prevent, detect, and respond. Prevention stops the problem from happening. Detection spots it early when it's still fixable. Response contains the damage when prevention and detection fail. If your key hire might quit, prevention means better onboarding and retention programs. Detection means regular check-ins and engagement surveys. Response means cross-training and succession planning. If your competitor might copy you, prevention means patent protection and first-mover advantages. Detection means competitive intelligence and market monitoring. Response means rapid iteration and feature differentiation. The kill criteria decision. The hardest part of failing first isn't imagining failure, it's deciding when to quit. Most entrepreneurs fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. They throw good money after bad. They escalate commitment to failing strategies. They confuse persistence with stubbornness. Kill criteria solve this problem by pre-committing to quit conditions. Before you start, you decide exactly when to stop. You set numeric thresholds that trigger pivots or shutdowns. You remove emotion from the equation by making the decision when you're rational, not desperate. If you're launching a new product, your kill criteria might be: if we don't reach 100 paying customers within 6 months, we pivot to a different market. If you're hiring a new team member, it might be: if performance doesn't improve within 90 days of feedback, we make a change. If you're testing a new marketing channel, it might be: if cost per acquisition exceeds lifetime value for 3 consecutive months, we stop spending. Kill criteria feel harsh, but they're actually liberating. They give you permission to quit bad paths quickly so you can find good paths faster. They prevent small failures from becoming big disasters. They turn failure from a source of shame into a source of learning. SpaceX has kill criteria for every test. If an engine shows stress fractures, they stop the test. If temperatures exceed safe ranges, they abort the mission. If any parameter goes outside acceptable bounds, they shut down immediately. This isn't cowardice, it's intelligence. By failing small and early, they avoid failing big and late. The red flag system. Once you've identified your failure modes and set your kill criteria, you need early warning systems. These are the canaries in your coal mine, small signals that big problems are coming. They give you time to respond before crisis hits. Assign a red flag owner to each major risk. This person's job is to monitor the leading indicators and sound the alarm when thresholds are approached. They're not responsible for solving the problem. They're responsible for seeing it coming. If your main risk is customer churn, your red flag owner tracks engagement metrics, support ticket volume, and renewal conversations. If your main risk is cash flow, they monitor collection rates, payment delays, and expense trends. If your main risk is team burnout, they watch overtime hours, sick days, and satisfaction scores. The red flag owner reports monthly on their assigned risk. Green means everything looks normal. Yellow means warning signs are appearing. Red means immediate action is required. This system prevents risks from hiding until they become crises. The learning loop. The goal of failing first isn't to become paranoid, it's to become anti-fragile. You want to build a system that gets stronger from stress, smarter from setbacks, and more resilient from risks. You want failure to make you better, not bitter. This requires a learning loop that captures lessons from every near miss, every early warning, and every prevented disaster. When your red flag owner spots a yellow signal and you take corrective action, document what you learned. When your kill criteria trigger a pivot and you change direction, record what you discovered. When your premortem prediction comes true and you're prepared for it, celebrate what you prevented. Over time, this creates institutional wisdom. Your team gets better at spotting risks. Your systems get better at preventing problems. Your responses get faster and more effective. You develop what military strategists call operational resilience, the ability to maintain mission effectiveness under stress. But even the most robust failure prevention system can't protect you from the most dangerous enemy of all, your own assumptions. The next chapter reveals how to stress test your plan against the one force that destroys more strategies than all external threats combined: base reality. Chapter 5: Base Reality. Your plan is bulletproof. You've mapped every milestone, anticipated every failure mode, and built safeguards for every risk. Your team believes in the vision. Your timeline feels achievable. Your confidence is sky high. Then you mention your projections to a friend who's been in business for 20 years. They listen politely, nod thoughtfully, and ask one simple question: what makes you think you're different? The question stings because you can't answer it. You've built your entire strategy on the assumption that you'll beat the odds, outperform the averages, and succeed where others have failed. But you've never actually looked at those odds. You've never studied those averages. You've never examined why others failed. You've been planning in a bubble, insulated from the harsh mathematics of reality. Your projections are based on hope, not history. Your timelines are anchored to wishes, not data. Your confidence comes from ignorance, not evidence. This is the most dangerous moment in any entrepreneurial journey, when your beautiful plan meets the brutal world. The fantasy trap. Ambition without calibration is just expensive daydreaming. Every entrepreneur believes they're the exception to the rule. Every startup thinks they'll grow faster than average. Every business owner assumes they'll execute better than their competitors. Every team convinces itself that this time will be different. The math tells a different story. 90% of startups fail within 10 years. The average SaaS company takes 18 months to find product-market fit. Most new hires take 6 months to become productive. Customer acquisition costs typically rise over time, not fall. Profit margins compress as competition increases. These aren't pessimistic predictions. They're statistical realities. They're what happens to most people, most of the time, in most markets. They're the base rates that govern business outcomes whether you acknowledge them or not. When you ignore base rates, you make plans that can't survive contact with reality. You set timelines that assume everything goes perfectly. You budget for best-case scenarios. You hire for growth that may never come. You spend money you may never make. The collision between fantasy and reality destroys more businesses than any external threat. It's not the competition that kills you, it's the gap between what you expected and what actually happened. It's not the market that defeats you, it's the difference between your projections and your performance. The Bridgewater Principle. Ray Dalio built the world's largest hedge fund on a simple premise: most people are wrong most of the time, including him. Instead of trusting his own judgment, he built systems to challenge it. Instead of surrounding himself with yes men, he hired people to disagree with him. Instead of avoiding criticism, he institutionalized it. At Bridgewater, every decision gets attacked by smart people whose job is to find flaws. Every assumption gets questioned by colleagues who understand the stakes. Every plan gets stress tested by teams who know the history. This isn't corporate culture, it's survival strategy. The results speak for themselves. While other hedge funds blow up during market crashes, Bridgewater thrives. While other managers let ego cloud their judgment, Dalio's team makes decisions based on data. While other firms repeat historical mistakes, Bridgewater learns from them before making them. Dalio calls this radical transparency, but it's really just applied humility. It's the recognition that your inside view, your personal perspective on your unique situation, is probably wrong. It's the understanding that the outside view, what happens to most people in similar situations, is probably right. This doesn't mean you can't beat the odds. It means you should know what the odds are before you try to beat them. It means you should understand why others failed before you attempt to succeed. It means you should calibrate your confidence to evidence, not enthusiasm. The second-order blindness. Even when entrepreneurs acknowledge base rates, they often miss second-order effects, the consequences of their consequences. They focus so intently on achieving their goals that they forget to ask what happens after they achieve them. They optimize for the win without considering what winning costs. This creates Pyrrhic victories, successes that feel like failures because of their hidden costs. You hit your revenue target but destroy your culture. You scale your team but lose your agility. You capture market share but sacrifice profitability. You achieve your vision but hate your life. Second-order thinking maps these ripple effects before they ripple. It asks not just, will this work, but what happens if it works too well? It considers not just the benefits of success, but the burdens of success. It anticipates not just the problems you'll solve, but the problems you'll create. Amazon faced this challenge when they achieved massive scale. Success brought new problems: logistics complexity, regulatory scrutiny, employee management challenges, and competitive threats. But because they thought in second-order terms, they prepared for these problems before they became crises. They built systems to handle complexity, teams to manage regulation, and cultures to maintain innovation at scale. Most entrepreneurs don't think this way. They assume success will solve all their problems without creating new ones. They believe growth is always good, bigger is always better, and more is always the answer. They optimize for first-order effects and get blindsided by second-order consequences. The red team advantage. The military has a practice called red teaming, deliberately attacking your own plans to expose their weaknesses. Red teams are composed of smart, experienced people whose job is to think like the enemy. They study your strategy, understand your assumptions, and then systematically try to destroy them. This isn't sabotage. It's insurance. Red teams find flaws while they're still cheap to fix. They expose blind spots while there's still time to see. They reveal weaknesses while you can still strengthen them. They attack your plan so the real enemy can't. Microsoft uses red teams to test their software security. Before releasing any major product, they hire hackers to break it. These aren't malicious attacks. They're controlled experiments designed to find vulnerabilities. Every flaw the red team discovers is a breach they prevent. Every weakness they exploit is a strength they build. The same principle applies to business strategy. Your plan has vulnerabilities you can't see because you're too close to it. Your assumptions have flaws you can't spot because you made them. Your logic has holes you can't find because you built it. A red team sees what you can't see. They question what you take for granted. They attack what you assume is strong. They think like your competitors, your customers, and your critics. They give you the gift of external perspective wrapped in the package of friendly fire. The base rate backcast. The first step in anchoring your plan to reality is building a base rate sheet for your key metrics. This isn't about being pessimistic. It's about being realistic. It's about understanding what normally happens so you can plan for what will probably happen. Start with your 5 most important goals: revenue growth, customer acquisition, team scaling, product development, market expansion. For each goal, research what typically happens to companies like yours in situations like yours. Look for credible studies, industry reports, and historical data. Find the median outcomes, not the exceptional ones. If you're planning to grow revenue by 300% this year, find out what percentage of companies in your industry and stage actually achieve that growth. If you're expecting to hire 10 people in 6 months, research how long it typically takes companies your size to recruit and onboard new team members. If you're projecting a 50% profit margin, study what margins are normal for your business model. This doesn't mean you can't exceed the base rates. It means you should know what you're trying to exceed. It means you should have specific reasons why you'll be different. It means you should plan for the probable while hoping for the exceptional. Adjust your base rate projections only when you have clear, defensible reasons. Maybe you have proprietary technology that creates competitive advantage. Maybe you have unique market access that accelerates growth. Maybe you have exceptional team experience that reduces risk, but document these reasons and test them against skeptical questioning. The ripple mapping exercise. Once you've grounded your goals in base rates, map the second-order effects of achieving them. Ask yourself, if we hit our end state perfectly, what new problems will we create? Think through the ripples across your team, your customers, your cash flow, your operations, and your market position. If you achieve rapid growth, you might strain your systems, stress your team, and attract competitive attention. If you capture significant market share, you might face regulatory scrutiny, customer service challenges, and talent acquisition difficulties. If you build a large team, you might lose cultural cohesion, decision-making speed, and entrepreneurial agility. These aren't reasons to avoid success, they're reasons to prepare for it. For each second-order effect you identify, design either a mitigation strategy or an amplification strategy. If the effect is negative, plan how to minimize it. If the effect is positive, plan how to maximize it. Document these ripple effects and review them quarterly. As you make progress toward your goals, watch for the second-order consequences you predicted. Adjust your strategies based on what you observe. Use the ripples as early warning signals for both opportunities and threats. The Red Team Session. Schedule a 1-hour Red Team session with 2 or 3 sharp people who understand business but aren't emotionally invested in your plan. Give them your strategy documents in advance. Ask them to come prepared to attack your assumptions, question your logic, and poke holes in your reasoning. Set the ground rules clearly. Their job is to be constructively critical, not supportively encouraging. They should assume you're wrong until proven right. They should question everything, especially the things you're most confident about. They should think like your toughest competitors, most demanding customers, and harshest critics. During the session, resist the urge to defend your plan. Instead, listen actively and take notes. Ask clarifying questions about their concerns. Probe deeper into their objections. Thank them for their criticism instead of arguing with it. Remember, they're trying to save you from expensive mistakes, not sabotage your success. After the session, review their feedback with your team. Identify the top 3 criticisms that could actually derail your plan. Develop specific responses to address these concerns. Implement changes within 2 weeks while the feedback is still fresh. Follow up with your Red Team to show them how you incorporated their input. The calibration loop. The goal of base reality work isn't to become pessimistic, it's to become accurate. You want your forecasts to match your results. You want your timelines to reflect actual progress. You want your confidence to correlate with your competence. This requires a monthly calibration loop where you compare your predictions to your performance. Track the gap between what you expected and what happened. Analyze the patterns in your forecasting errors. Adjust your future projections based on your historical accuracy. If you consistently underestimate timelines, build buffer into your planning. If you regularly overestimate demand, temper your growth projections. If you repeatedly underestimate costs, increase your budget assumptions. Let reality teach you how to predict reality. Over time, this calibration loop improves your judgment. Your forecasts become more accurate. Your timelines become more realistic. Your confidence becomes more justified. You develop what poker players call calibrated confidence, the ability to be precisely as confident as the evidence warrants. But even the most reality-tested plan means nothing if you don't protect the time to execute it. The next chapter reveals the hidden weapon that separates successful entrepreneurs from busy ones: time design. Chapter 6: Time Design. It's Monday morning. You open your calendar and see 17 meetings, 43 unread emails, and a growing list of urgent tasks. Your strategic work, the stuff that actually moves the needle, sits in the corner like a neglected houseplant, slowly dying from lack of attention. By Wednesday, you're drowning. The important work gets pushed to later. Later becomes next week. Next week becomes when things calm down. But things never calm down because you never designed them to. Your calendar isn't serving your strategy, it's sabotaging it. Every open slot gets filled with someone else's priority. Every free moment gets claimed by someone else's emergency. Every hour gets hijacked by someone else's agenda. You're not managing time. Time is managing you. This isn't a productivity problem. It's a design problem. Most entrepreneurs treat their calendar like a parking lot. First come, first served. But the smartest leaders treat their calendar like a blueprint. Every hour has a purpose. Every block serves the plan. Every minute moves toward the outcome. They don't find time for what matters. They design time for what matters. The strategy lie. Your calendar reveals your real strategy, not your stated strategy. You can talk about growth, innovation, and long-term thinking all you want. But if your calendar is packed with meetings, emails, and administrative tasks, your real strategy is maintenance, not growth. If it's not scheduled, it's pretend. That strategic planning session you keep meaning to have, pretend. The deep work you'll do when you have time, pretend. The system design that will transform your business, pretend. Without calendar protection, these activities remain good intentions that never become real actions. Random time creates random outcomes. When you leave your calendar open to whatever happens is usually urgent but unimportant. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. The loudest voice gets the attention. The most recent crisis gets the focus. Meanwhile, the quiet work that builds the future gets ignored. Warren Buffett understood this better than almost anyone. His calendar was famously empty, not because he wasn't busy, but because he was selective. He protected time for reading, thinking, and making decisions. He said no to almost everything so he could say yes to the few things that mattered most. Buffett's empty calendar wasn't laziness, it was strategy. Every hour he spent reading annual reports was an hour his competitors spent in meaningless meetings. Every minute he spent thinking about investments was a minute they spent answering emails. Every day he spent focusing on what mattered was a day they spent reacting to what didn't. The lead-lag revolution. Most entrepreneurs track lag metrics, results that happened in the past. Revenue, profit, customer count, team size. These numbers tell you where you've been, but they don't tell you where you're going. They're like looking in the rearview mirror while driving toward the future. Lag metrics inspire, but they don't deliver. You can't directly control revenue. You can only control the activities that drive revenue. You can't directly influence profit. You can only influence the decisions that create profit. You can't directly manage growth. You can only manage the systems that enable growth. This is where lead metrics come in. Lead metrics are the weekly inputs that drive your lag outputs. They're the activities you can control that influence the results you want. They're the steering wheel that turns the car, the rudder that guides the ship, the lever that moves the world. If your lag metric is monthly recurring revenue, your lead metric might be qualified demos per week. If your lag metric is profit margin, your lead metric might be process improvements implemented. If your lag metric is team productivity, your lead metric might be standard operating procedures documented. The magic happens when you tie your calendar to your lead metrics. Instead of hoping for better results, you schedule the activities that create better results. Instead of wishing for growth, you block time for the work that drives growth. Instead of dreaming about success, you design the weeks that build success. The Buffett calendar. Bill Gates learned this lesson during his famous Think Weeks, periods where he would disappear from Microsoft to read, think, and plan. These weren't vacations or retreats. They were strategic investments in deep work that produced breakthrough insights and major decisions. During one Think Week, Gates read about the internet and realized Microsoft was missing the biggest technology shift since the personal computer. He wrote a memo that redirected the entire company toward internet technologies. That single week of protected thinking time was worth billions of dollars in strategic value. Gates institutionalized this rhythm at Microsoft. Senior leaders were expected to protect time for strategic thinking. Calendars were designed around outcomes, not activities. Deep work was scheduled before meetings, not squeezed between them. This approach seems counterintuitive to most entrepreneurs. They believe more meetings mean more progress. They think busier calendars mean better results. They assume availability equals productivity. But the opposite is true. Constraints create focus, boundaries enable depth, and protection produces performance. The most successful leaders are ruthlessly protective of their time. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great ones. They decline interesting meetings so they can attend to important work. They batch interruptions so they can batch creation. The backward calendar method. Traditional calendar management works forward. You schedule meetings and hope to find time for important work. Backward calendar design works in reverse. You schedule important work first and fit everything else around it. Start with your non-negotiables, the activities that must happen for your strategy to succeed. Deep work sessions where you design systems. Strategic planning blocks where you make decisions. Review periods where you analyze progress. Recovery time where you recharge energy. These aren't luxuries, they're requirements. Block these activities first at the same times each week. Make them recurring appointments with yourself. Treat them like meetings with your most important client, because they are. Protect them with the same intensity you'd protect a board meeting or investor presentation. Name your blocks by purpose, not activity. Instead of work time, call it revenue system design. Instead of planning, call it Q4 strategy review. Instead of thinking, call it competitive analysis deep dive. Specific names create specific intentions. Clear purposes generate clear outcomes. Build buffer blocks around your deep work. Transition time between activities. Preparation time before important sessions. Processing time after intensive work. These buffers prevent your calendar from becoming a game of Tetris where every minute is optimized but no space exists for thinking. The Monday-Friday rhythm. Rhythm beats willpower every time. When you have to decide what to work on each morning, decision fatigue kills your energy before you start. When you have to remember what matters most each week, cognitive load slows your progress. When you have to motivate yourself to do important work, willpower becomes the bottleneck. But when important work happens at the same time each week, it becomes automatic. When strategic activities follow a predictable pattern, they require less mental energy. When your calendar has a rhythm, your brain can focus on execution instead of planning. Establish a Monday start ritual where you review your lead metrics, choose your weekly priorities, and schedule your first dominoes. This isn't a long planning session. It's a 15-minute alignment check that connects your week to your strategy. You pick one specific action for each lead metric and put it on your calendar. Create a Friday close ritual where you review your actual performance against your planned performance. Track your lead metrics. Assess your progress toward quarterly proofs. Note what worked, what didn't, and what you learned. This isn't about judgment, it's about calibration. You're training your forecasting ability and improving your execution accuracy. The Monday-Friday rhythm creates a weekly feedback loop that compounds over time. Each week, you get better at predicting what you can accomplish. Each cycle, you improve at executing what you plan. Each iteration, you close the gap between intention and action. The metric dashboard. Put your lead metrics where you can see them every day. Not buried in a spreadsheet or hidden in an app, visible in your line of sight. Check them before you check email. Review them before you start work. Let them guide your daily decisions and weekly priorities. Your dashboard should be simple. 3 lead metrics, current week's targets, and actual performance. Green when you're on track, yellow when you're behind, red when you're in danger. No complex charts or detailed analytics, just clear signals that tell you whether you're winning or losing. Track weekly, not daily. Daily tracking creates noise and anxiety. Weekly tracking creates signal and clarity. You want to see patterns, not fluctuations. You want to measure progress, not perfection. You want to optimize for consistency, not intensity. When your lead metrics are off track, adjust your inputs, not your expectations. If you're missing your demo targets, increase your outreach activities. If you're behind on process improvements, schedule more system design time. If you're short on deep work hours, protect your calendar more aggressively. The protection protocol. Your biggest enemy isn't lack of time, it's lack of protection. Every unguarded calendar slot will get filled with someone else's priority. Every open hour will get claimed by someone else's emergency. Every available minute will get hijacked by someone else's agenda. Develop a simple script for protecting your blocked time. I have a commitment during that time. You don't need to explain what the commitment is or justify why it matters. You don't need to apologize for being unavailable or offer alternative times. You just need to be consistently unavailable during your protected hours. Batch your communication into specific windows. Check email twice a day, not 20 times. Schedule calls during designated hours, not scattered throughout the day. Respond to messages in batches, not as they arrive. This creates focused work time and focused communication time. Make your deep work blocks busy on your calendar. Use titles that discourage interruption, strategic planning session, or system design workshop. Block the time as unavailable for meetings. Set your status to do not disturb. Create friction for anyone trying to claim your protected time. The compound effect. When you design your time backward, everything changes. Your calendar serves your strategy instead of sabotaging it. Your weeks drive your results instead of drifting toward randomness. Your rhythm creates momentum instead of requiring motivation. You stop reacting to whatever happens and start creating what happens. You stop being available for everyone else's priorities and start being accountable for your own priorities. You stop hoping for better outcomes and start scheduling the activities that create better outcomes. The transformation happens quickly, but compounds slowly. In the first week, you'll feel more focused. In the first month, you'll see measurable progress. In the first quarter, you'll achieve results that seemed impossible when you were managing time randomly. But time design is only half the battle. Even the most protected calendar can't save you if your systems are broken. The next chapter reveals how to engineer excellence into every process so your results become boringly predictable. Lean systems. Chapter 7, Lean Systems. Last Tuesday, your team delivered a perfect client presentation. The slides were crisp, the demo was flawless, and the client signed on the spot. Everyone celebrated. You felt proud. The result was exactly what you wanted. This Tuesday, a different team member delivered a similar presentation to a similar client. The slides were inconsistent, the demo crashed twice, and the client asked for time to think about it. No celebration, no signature, no clear reason why the same company with the same offering produced completely different results. This is the hidden tax that kills most growing businesses, the variance between your best performance and your average performance. When excellence depends on individual heroics, it can't scale. When great results require perfect conditions, they can't repeat. When success relies on specific people being at their peak, it becomes fragile. You've built a business that works brilliantly sometimes and poorly other times. Your customers never know which version they'll get. Your team never knows which standard to meet. You never know which outcome to expect. The solution isn't trying harder, it's thinking differently. It's not about making people more heroic, it's about making heroics unnecessary. The heroics trap. Most entrepreneurs believe that great results come from great people doing great work. They hire talented individuals, give them challenging projects, and hope for excellence. When someone delivers an outstanding outcome, they celebrate the person. When someone delivers a mediocre outcome, they blame the person. This approach works until it doesn't. Great people have bad days. Talented individuals leave for better opportunities. Star performers get overwhelmed when the business grows. What happens to your results when your best people aren't available? The answer is usually painful. Quality drops. timelines extend, costs increase, and customers notice. You discover that your excellence was personal, not systematic. Your competitive advantage was human, not structural. Your reliability was accidental, not engineered. Toyota learned this lesson during their post-war recovery. They couldn't compete on talent. They didn't have the resources to hire the best engineers or the most skilled workers. They couldn't compete on technology. They didn't have access to the latest equipment or the newest innovations. They had to compete on something else: consistency. Taiichi Ohno, the architect of the Toyota production system, made a radical decision. Instead of trying to make people perfect, he would make processes perfect. Instead of depending on individual excellence, he would engineer systematic excellence. Instead of hoping for great results, he would design systems that made great results inevitable. The results spoke for themselves. Toyota didn't just catch up to American automakers, they surpassed them. Not because their people were better, but because their systems were better. Not because they tried harder, but because they thought differently. The constraint reality. Every process has a bottleneck, the step that limits the speed of the entire system. It might be the approval process that takes 3 days. It might be the review cycle that requires 5 people. It might be the manual task that only one person knows how to do. Whatever it is, it determines how fast everything else can move. Most teams optimize randomly. They speed up whatever feels slow, fix whatever seems broken, and improve whatever catches their attention. This creates the illusion of progress without the reality of improvement. You make 10 things 10% better while the one constraint stays exactly the same. The math is unforgiving. If your bottleneck can handle 10 units per hour, your entire system can handle 10 units per hour. It doesn't matter if every other step can handle 100 units per hour. The constraint sets the pace for everything else. This is why random optimization is waste. Every minute you spend improving non-constraints is a minute you don't spend relieving the actual constraint. Every dollar you invest in faster non-bottlenecks is a dollar you don't invest in expanding the real bottleneck. Every effort you make to speed up the wrong thing is effort you don't make to speed up the right thing. Amazon understood this principle when they were scaling their fulfillment operations. They could have optimized picking speed, packing efficiency, or shipping methods. Instead, they focused on the constraint: inventory placement. By putting the right products in the right locations, they eliminated the bottleneck that limited everything else. The result wasn't just faster fulfillment, it was exponentially faster fulfillment. When you fix the true constraint, the entire system accelerates. When you remove the real bottleneck, everything else flows faster. The subtraction strategy. Complexity is the enemy of execution. Every additional step creates another opportunity for error. Every extra rule creates another point of confusion. Every new requirement creates another source of delay. The more complex your process, the more fragile your results. Most teams add their way to better performance. They create new checkpoints to prevent errors. They build additional approvals to ensure quality. They design extra steps to catch problems. Each addition seems logical in isolation, but together they create a system that's too complex to execute consistently. The counterintuitive truth is that subtraction often improves performance more than addition. Fewer steps mean fewer errors. Simpler processes mean faster execution. Clearer requirements mean better results. When you remove complexity, you increase reliability. This doesn't mean removing important safeguards or eliminating necessary quality checks. It means questioning every step, challenging every requirement, and eliminating everything that doesn't directly contribute to the outcome. It means designing for simplicity, not comprehensiveness. Jeff Bezos institutionalized this thinking at Amazon with the disagree and commit principle. Instead of requiring consensus from everyone, decisions could move forward with commitment from the decision maker. This eliminated the complexity of endless discussion while preserving the speed of clear action. The result was faster decisions, clearer accountability, and better execution. By subtracting the requirement for universal agreement, Amazon added the capability for rapid progress. the reverse engineering method. The best way to create a system is to start with a perfect example and work backward. Instead of trying to design the ideal process from scratch, find a time when you delivered exactly the result you wanted and reverse engineer the steps that made it happen. This approach captures tacit knowledge that formal planning misses. When you're executing in real time, you make dozens of micro decisions that you don't consciously remember. You adjust your approach based on subtle cues. You sequence activities in ways that feel natural but aren't obvious. You use tools and techniques that work but aren't documented. Traditional process design tries to imagine the perfect sequence from the beginning. Reverse engineering captures the actual sequence that produced the perfect result. It's the difference between theory and practice, between what should work and what did work. Start with your most recent perfect outcome. Maybe it was a client presentation that closed immediately. Maybe it was a product launch that exceeded expectations. Maybe it was a team project that finished early and under budget. Whatever it was, it represents your system working at its best. Document every step backward from the final result. What happened immediately before the perfect outcome? What happened before that? Keep stepping backward until you reach the initial trigger that started the sequence. Capture not just the activities, but the tools, templates, and techniques that made each step successful. This reverse-engineered process becomes your standard operating procedure. It's not a theoretical ideal, it's a proven path to the result you want. It's not what might work, it's what did work. It's not a best practice borrowed from someone else. It's your best practice extracted from your own success. The flow mapping exercise. Before you can fix your constraint, you need to find it. This requires mapping your entire process from start to finish and timing each step. Most entrepreneurs think they know where their bottleneck is, but they're usually wrong. Intuition is a poor substitute for measurement. Draw your process as a simple flowchart. Start with the trigger that begins the sequence and end with the outcome that completes it. Include every step, every handoff, and every decision point. Don't worry about making it pretty. Worry about making it accurate. Time each step over multiple cycles. How long does each activity actually take? How much waiting happens between steps? Where do things get stuck most often? Where do errors occur most frequently? Where do people get confused or need clarification? The constraint will reveal itself through the data. It's usually the step with the longest cycle time, the highest error rate, or the most frequent delays. Sometimes it's obvious, a manual process that takes hours while everything else takes minutes. Sometimes it's subtle, a review step that seems fast but creates a queue because only one person can do it. Once you've identified the constraint, you have three options: automate it, eliminate it, or expand it. Automation replaces human bottlenecks with system bottlenecks. Elimination removes unnecessary steps that create delays. Expansion adds capacity to steps that can't be automated or eliminated. The documentation standard. Your standard operating procedures should be simple enough to follow under pressure and complete enough to produce consistent results. This means including the essential steps while excluding the obvious ones. It means providing examples while avoiding overwhelming detail. Use screenshots and short video clips to show what done right looks like. Don't just tell people what to do, show them what success looks like. Visual examples eliminate ambiguity and reduce training time. They make quality standards clear and achievable. Keep your SOPs short and scannable. Include the trigger that starts the process, the steps that execute it, the definition of done that completes it, and the owner who's accountable for it. Anything longer than one page probably needs to be broken into smaller processes. Test your SOPs with someone who's never done the process before. If they can follow your documentation and produce an acceptable result, your SOP is good enough. If they get confused or make errors, your documentation needs work. Update your SOPs based on real experience, not theoretical improvements. When someone finds a better way to do something, capture it. When a step consistently causes problems, fix it. When a requirement proves unnecessary, remove it. Your SOPs should evolve with your understanding, not remain static with your assumptions. The measurement loop. Track 2 metrics for every process: cycle time and error rate. Cycle time measures how long the process takes from start to finish. Error rate measures how often the process produces unacceptable results. These 2 metrics tell you everything you need to know about process performance. Measure before you optimize and after you change. This gives you objective evidence of improvement rather than subjective feelings of progress. It tells you whether your changes actually worked or just felt like they worked. Celebrate improvements in both speed and quality. When cycle time drops, acknowledge the efficiency gain. When error rate falls, recognize the quality improvement. When both improve simultaneously, highlight the compound benefit. Use your measurements to guide future optimization efforts. If cycle time is the bigger problem, focus on speed improvements. If error rate is the bigger issue, focus on quality enhancements. If both are acceptable, focus on other processes that need more attention. The ownership imperative. Every process needs a single owner, someone who's accountable for its performance and responsible for its improvement. This person doesn't have to execute every step, but they do have to ensure every step gets executed correctly. Process ownership is different from task ownership. Task owners execute specific activities. Process owners ensure the entire sequence works smoothly. They monitor performance, identify problems, and implement improvements. They're the quarterback of the process, not just a player in it. Rotate process ownership periodically to prevent knowledge hoarding and encourage fresh perspectives. The person who designed the process might not be the best person to optimize it. The person who executes it most often might see improvement opportunities that others miss. Review your processes quarterly with their owners. What's working well? What's causing problems? What could be simplified? What should be eliminated? Use these reviews to keep your systems current and effective. But even the most elegant systems won't help you if your identity doesn't align with your strategy. The next chapter reveals the hidden force that determines whether your new processes stick or fade. Identity flip. Chapter 8. Identity flip. You've built the perfect system. Your done picture is crystal clear. Your backward map shows exactly how to get there. Your risks are mapped and mitigated. Your time is protected and designed. Your processes are documented and optimized. But every Monday morning, you still find yourself checking email instead of working on strategy. You still say yes to meetings that don't matter. You still get pulled into fires instead of building systems. You still react to urgency instead of creating importance. The tools are perfect. The plan is solid. The systems are elegant. But something deeper is sabotaging your execution. Something that no amount of planning or process design can fix. Something that lives beneath your conscious awareness but controls your daily choices. Your identity. You can't out-execute who you think you are. If you see yourself as the firefighter, you'll create fires to fight. If you identify as the problem solver, you'll find problems to solve. If you believe you're the person who handles everything personally, you'll never build systems that work without you. The most sophisticated strategy in the world can't overcome an identity that contradicts it. The hidden operating system. Identity is your brain's operating system. It runs in the background, making thousands of micro decisions that shape your behavior. It determines what you notice and what you ignore. It influences what feels natural and what feels forced. It decides what you'll stick with and what you'll abandon. When your strategy conflicts with your identity, identity wins every time. You might follow your plan for a few days or weeks, but eventually you'll drift back to behaviors that feel consistent with who you think you are. Willpower is temporary. Identity is permanent. This is why most change initiatives fail. People try to change their behavior without changing their identity. They attempt to act differently while thinking the same way. They modify their actions while maintaining their self-concept. It's like trying to run new software on an incompatible operating system. It might work briefly, but it will eventually crash. Michael Phelps understood this better than almost any athlete in history. He didn't just train his body, he trained his identity. He didn't just practice swimming, he practiced being a swimmer. He didn't just visualize winning, he visualized being the type of person who wins under any circumstances. During the 2008 Olympics, Phelps's goggles filled with water during the 200-meter butterfly final. He couldn't see the wall, the lane lines, or his competitors. Most swimmers would have panicked. Phelps stayed calm and won gold because he had rehearsed this exact scenario hundreds of times in his mind. He had practiced being the type of swimmer who succeeds even when everything goes wrong. The goggles flooding wasn't a crisis. It was just another Tuesday for someone whose identity was built around performing under pressure. The firefighter's dilemma. Most entrepreneurs develop what I call firefighter identity. They see themselves as the person who solves problems, handles crises, and saves the day. This identity feels heroic and important. It creates a sense of purpose and value. It makes them feel indispensable. But firefighter identity creates a perverse incentive. You need fires to feel valuable. Unconsciously, you start creating the very problems you pride yourself on solving. You avoid building systems because systems would eliminate the fires that define your role. You resist delegation because delegation would reduce your importance. You sabotage prevention because prevention would eliminate your purpose. The firefighter identity feels productive because you're always busy. There's always another crisis to handle, another problem to solve, another emergency to address. But busy isn't the same as effective. Motion isn't the same as progress. Solving problems isn't the same as preventing them. Strategist identity works differently. Strategists see themselves as the person who builds systems, prevents problems, and creates leverage. They find purpose in making themselves less necessary, not more necessary. They measure success by the problems that don't happen, not the problems they solve. When you shift from firefighter identity to strategist identity, your behavior changes automatically. You start noticing patterns instead of just incidents. You start building systems instead of just solving problems. You start preventing fires instead of just fighting them. The environment advantage. Your environment shapes your identity more than your intentions do. The cues around you trigger automatic behaviors that reinforce who you think you are. The tools you see remind you of the work you do. The spaces you occupy influence the thoughts you think. If your desk is covered with urgent papers, you'll feel like someone who handles urgent things. If your calendar is packed with meetings, you'll identify as someone who's always in meetings. If your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications, you'll see yourself as someone who's always available. But if your workspace is designed for deep work, you'll feel like someone who does deep work. If your calendar protects time for strategy, you'll identify as someone who thinks strategically. If your environment cues focus instead of distraction, you'll become someone who focuses. Kobe Bryant engineered his environment to reinforce his identity as someone who outworked everyone. He arrived at practice before anyone else and left after everyone else. He structured his days around training, recovery, and skill development. He surrounded himself with reminders of excellence and eliminated distractions that didn't serve his goals. This wasn't just discipline, it was identity design. Bryant created an environment that made it easy to be the person he wanted to become and hard to be the person he wanted to avoid. His surroundings constantly reinforced his identity as someone who pursued perfection relentlessly. The result wasn't just better performance, it was effortless performance. When your environment aligns with your identity, the right behaviors feel natural instead of forced. You don't have to motivate yourself to do the work. The work feels like who you are. The reverse identity statement. Traditional goal setting asks what you want to achieve. Identity-based change asks who you want to become. Instead of starting with outcomes, you start with identity. Instead of focusing on what you'll do, you focus on who you'll be. Write a one-line reverse identity statement that describes who you are when you've achieved your done picture. Not what you'll have accomplished, but who you'll have become. Not what you'll own, but who you'll be. I am the calm strategist who ships weekly. I am the systems builder who works 25 hours per week. I am the leader who develops people instead of solving problems. I am the entrepreneur who creates value while others create chaos. This statement becomes your North Star for daily decisions. When you're tempted to check email during deep work time, ask yourself, is this what a calm strategist would do? When you're about to solve a problem that someone else should handle, ask, is this what a systems builder would do? When you're considering taking on more work, ask, is this what someone who works 25 hours per week would do? Your identity statement isn't aspirational, it's operational. It's not who you hope to become someday, it's who you are right now, at your best. It's not a distant goal, it's a present reality that you're choosing to embody more consistently. The trigger architecture. Motivation is unreliable. Willpower is finite. But triggers are automatic. When you design your environment to cue the right behaviors, you don't have to remember to do them. They happen naturally. Install behavioral triggers that make your identity-consistent actions inevitable. Time-place triggers that connect specific behaviors to specific moments and locations. Tool-ready triggers that eliminate friction between intention and action. Social triggers that create accountability and reinforcement. If your identity is calm strategist, create a trigger where you spend the first hour of every workday in strategy mode. Same time, same place, same tools ready. If your identity is systems builder, create a trigger where you document one process improvement every Friday afternoon. If your identity is leader who develops people, create a trigger where you have one coaching conversation every week. These triggers work because they remove the decision from the moment. You don't have to choose whether to do strategic work. It's automatically scheduled. You don't have to remember to build systems. It's built into your routine. You don't have to motivate yourself to develop people. It's part of your rhythm. The key is connecting triggers to places you already visit and times you already protect. Piggyback new behaviors onto existing routines. Stack identity-consistent actions onto habits you already have. Use the momentum of what you're already doing to power what you want to start doing. The subtraction matrix. Identity isn't just about what you do, it's about what you don't do. Every behavior that contradicts your desired identity weakens it. Every action that conflicts with your goals dilutes them. Every habit that drains your energy reduces your capacity for what matters. Build an anti-habit matrix that identifies your top 3 identity-contradicting behaviors and systematically removes them. Maybe it's reactive communication that makes you feel like a firefighter instead of a strategist. Maybe it's saying yes to every request that makes you feel overwhelmed instead of in control. Maybe it's working late that makes you feel busy instead of effective. For each contradictory behavior, design either deletion or friction. Deletion removes the behavior entirely, uninstalling apps, canceling subscriptions, changing environments. Friction makes the behavior harder to do, adding steps, creating delays, requiring approval. If reactive communication is your drain, delete notifications during deep work hours. If saying yes to everything is your problem, create a 24-hour delay before responding to requests. If working late is your pattern, set a hard stop time and stick to it regardless of what's left undone. Track your subtractions as carefully as you track your additions. Celebrate the meetings you didn't take, the emails you didn't answer immediately, the problems you didn't solve personally. Measure the distractions you avoided, not just the work you completed. The decision journal. Your future self will judge your current decisions differently than your current self makes them. Hindsight bias will make failures seem more predictable than they were. Outcome bias will make good decisions seem bad if they produce poor results. Memory will edit the story to fit the ending. A reverse decision journal captures your reasoning before you know the outcome. Before making any significant decision, write 3 lines: what success looks like, what failure looks like, and what assumptions you're making. Include the date and the context. Note your confidence level and the information you're missing. This isn't about predicting the future perfectly. It's about improving your decision-making process. When you revisit your journal after 90 days, you'll see patterns in your thinking. You'll notice which assumptions prove accurate and which prove wrong. You'll identify which types of decisions you make well and which types you struggle with. The journal also reinforces your identity as someone who makes thoughtful decisions instead of reactive ones. The act of writing forces you to slow down and think clearly. The practice of reviewing forces you to learn from experience. The habit of documenting forces you to take ownership of outcomes. The rehearsal loop. Mental rehearsal primes your brain for identity-consistent behavior under pressure. When you visualize yourself acting like the person you want to become, you create neural pathways that make those actions more likely. When you practice being your future self in your mind, you make it easier to be your future self in reality. Every week, spend 10 minutes mentally rehearsing your identity in action. Visualize yourself making decisions as the calm strategist. See yourself building systems as the systems builder. Experience yourself developing people as the leader. Make the visualization specific, detailed, and emotional. Then step backward one move and ask, what must be true immediately before this moment? If you see yourself calmly handling a crisis, what preparation made that calm possible? If you visualize yourself building an elegant system, what thinking preceded that creation? If you imagine yourself developing someone effectively, what relationship groundwork enabled that development? This backward stepping reveals the setup that makes identity expression possible. It shows you the conditions that need to exist for you to be your best self. It identifies the preparation that makes performance feel effortless. The compound identity. When your identity aligns with your strategy, execution becomes automatic. You don't have to force yourself to do the right things. The right things feel like who you are. You don't have to resist the wrong things. The wrong things feel inconsistent with your identity. You don't have to motivate yourself to change. Change feels like coming home to yourself. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it happens faster than you expect. Within weeks, you'll notice different choices feeling natural. Within months, you'll see different results appearing consistently. Within quarters, you'll realize you've become someone different without trying to become someone different. But identity work is just the foundation. Even the strongest identity needs the right framework to channel its power effectively. The final chapter reveals how to weave everything together into a system that compounds. Go now. Chapter 9, Go Now. You now possess something that 99% of entrepreneurs will never have, a complete operating system for reverse engineering success. While they sprint forward into fog, you can start at the finish line and build a clear path back to today. While they react to whatever happens, you can engineer what happens. While they hope for the best, you can design for the best. The tools are in your hands. The framework is complete. The only question remaining is whether you'll use them. Most people won't. They'll read this book, feel inspired, and then return to their old patterns. They'll bookmark the ideas but never implement them. They'll understand the concepts but never apply them. They'll know what to do but never do what they know. Don't be most people. The difference between knowing and doing is the difference between dreaming and achieving. The gap between understanding and implementing is the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The space between reading and acting is where most potential dies. But not yours, not today, not anymore. The compound engine. You've built more than a strategy. You've built a machine. Each component connects to every other component. Each tool amplifies every other tool. Each practice reinforces every other practice. Together, they create something more powerful than the sum of their parts, a self-reinforcing engine that compounds advantage over time. Your done picture creates clarity that makes every decision faster. Your backward map converts that clarity into actionable steps that make every week productive. Your fail-first protocols protect those steps from predictable disasters that derail most plans. Your base reality checks anchor those protections to data that makes forecasts accurate. Your time design converts accurate forecasts into protected execution that makes progress inevitable. Your lean systems convert that execution into repeatable processes that make excellence standard. Your identity flip converts those processes into automatic behaviors that make success effortless. Each loop reduces the effort required to produce results. Each cycle increases the results produced per unit of effort. Each iteration makes the next iteration easier, faster, and more effective. This is how you outpace competitors who work harder but think forward. This is how you achieve more while doing less. This is how you create the compound advantage that separates the top 1% from everyone else. The freedom transformation. When Jeff Bezos started Amazon, he didn't just want to sell books online. He wanted to build the everything store. But he didn't start by trying to sell everything. He started with the end state clearly defined and worked backward to the first logical step. The press release for Amazon's initial public offering didn't describe a small bookstore. It described a company that would leverage technology and the internet to provide customers with the best possible shopping experience. The vision was massive, but the path was methodical. Each quarter built the capability for the next quarter. Each year expanded the foundation for the next decade. This backward approach produced results that seemed impossible to forward-thinking competitors. While they optimized existing retail models, Amazon invented new ones. While they fought for market share in existing categories, Amazon created entirely new categories. While they reacted to customer needs, Amazon anticipated customer needs that customers didn't even know they had. The Kindle didn't emerge from market research. It emerged from working backward from the vision of making every book instantly accessible. AWS didn't come from competitive analysis. It came from working backward from the need to scale Amazon's own infrastructure. Prime didn't result from customer surveys. It resulted from working backward from the goal of making shopping effortless. Each breakthrough started at the finish line and built backward to the beginning. Each innovation began with the end state and reverse-engineered the path. Each success story originated from clarity about the destination and systematic thinking about the journey. The relationship revolution. Backward thinking doesn't just transform your business, it transforms your relationships. When you're clear about your end state, you stop making promises you can't keep. When you protect your time, you become more present during the time you share. When you eliminate chaos from your calendar, you eliminate chaos from your interactions. Your team stops guessing what you want because your done picture makes it obvious. Your clients stop wondering about your priorities because your systems make them transparent. Your family stops competing with your work because your boundaries make them sacred. Clarity removes the friction that destroys trust. When people know what to expect from you, they can plan around you. When your commitments are realistic, your word becomes reliable. When your boundaries are clear, your presence becomes valuable. You'll find yourself having better conversations because you're not distracted by urgency. You'll make better decisions because you're not rushed by artificial deadlines. You'll build better relationships because you're not stressed by competing priorities. The compound effect extends beyond business metrics into life satisfaction. Lower stress, higher trust, clearer communication, and deeper connections. The same principles that create business success create personal fulfillment. The prediction engine. Within 90 days of implementing this system, you'll achieve something that most entrepreneurs never experience: predictable growth. Your lead metrics will drive your lag metrics with mathematical precision. Your weekly inputs will produce quarterly outputs with reliable consistency. Your monthly forecasts will match your actual results with increasing accuracy. This predictability creates a new kind of confidence, not the false confidence of optimism, but the earned confidence of competence. You'll know what you can achieve because you'll have data proving what you can achieve. You'll trust your timelines because your timelines will consistently prove trustworthy. You'll make commitments with certainty because your systems will consistently deliver on commitments. Predictability also creates optionality. When you know what you can reliably produce, you can make bigger bets. When you trust your execution, you can pursue bigger opportunities. When your systems work without you, you can focus on work that only you can do. Your calendar will shift from operational tasks to strategic opportunities. Your energy will move from firefighting to system building. Your attention will transition from reacting to creating. You'll become the architect of your future instead of the victim of your circumstances. The effortless execution. The most profound transformation happens gradually, then suddenly. Your new behaviors will feel forced at first, then natural, then automatic. Your identity will shift from someone who works hard to someone who works smart. Your default mode will change from reactive to proactive. You'll stop checking email first thing in the morning because strategic work will feel more important. You'll stop saying yes to every meeting because your calendar will protect what matters most. You'll stop solving every problem personally because your systems will solve them systematically. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming the person you already are at your best, more consistently. It's about making your peak performance your standard performance. It's about turning your occasional excellence into your daily routine. The effort required to maintain these changes decreases over time, while the results they produce increase over time. This is the compound advantage in action. Less input, more output, better outcomes. The Amazon lesson. Amazon's success didn't come from working harder than competitors. It came from thinking differently than competitors. While others optimized for quarterly earnings, Amazon optimized for long-term customer value. While others focused on existing markets, Amazon created new markets. While others reacted to change, Amazon engineered change. The working backwards methodology became Amazon's secret weapon. Every product, every service, every initiative started with a press release describing the end state and worked backward to the beginning. This forced clarity about outcomes before investing in activities. It ensured customer value before building features. It guaranteed market fit before launching products. You now have the same methodology. You can start with your done picture and work backward to today. You can begin with your quarterly proofs and reverse engineer the weekly actions. You can commence with your identity statement and build backward to the daily triggers. This is your competitive advantage. While others guess their way forward, you can engineer your way backward. While others hope for the best, you can design for the best. While others react to what happens, you can create what happens. Your first move. Stop reading, start doing. Right now, before you check email or answer messages or handle the next urgent thing, draft your done picture, 20 minutes, 1 page, terminal metrics, proof assets, non-negotiables, constraints, and anti-goals. Don't make it perfect, make it real. Don't make it comprehensive, make it clear. Don't make it impressive, make it honest. You can refine it later, but you can't refine what doesn't exist. Pick one quarterly proof from your done picture. Choose the outcome that would make the biggest difference if you achieved it in the next 90 days. Write it down, make it specific, make it measurable, make it binary. You either achieve it or you don't. Schedule 2 90-minute deep work blocks for this week. Same days, same times, same purpose. Building the system that produces your quarterly proof. Protect these blocks like you'd protect a meeting with your biggest client. Treat them like appointments with your future self. Block the time now, before you finish this chapter, before you move to the next task, before you convince yourself you'll do it later. Later never comes. Now is all you have. The compound promise. If you implement this system consistently for 90 days, your business will be unrecognizable. Not because you'll work more hours, but because you'll work the right hours. Not because you'll try harder, but because you'll think clearer. Not because you'll do more things, but because you'll do the right things. Your competitors will wonder how you move so fast while staying so calm. Your team will wonder how you make decisions so quickly while being so accurate. Your clients will wonder how you deliver results so consistently while making it look so effortless. The secret will be simple. While they think forward into fog, you think backward from clarity. While they sprint toward uncertainty, you engineer toward certainty. While they hope for the best, you design for the best. This is your moment. This is your choice. This is your chance to join the 1% who think backward while the 99% stumble forward. The tools are in your hands. The path is mapped. The destination is clear. Go now. Move first. Refine fast. Momentum beats perfection. The map improves once you walk it. Start backward today. Freedom compounds tomorrow. Your future self is waiting. Don't keep them waiting any longer.